All right. Well, listen, welcome everyone. It's been a long 12 months since we have last come together. Last year, Brian and I were making our way back from a workforce event in Hawaii, and today I made my way back from a vaccination clinic. What a year this has been. So there's one thing though that while there's been so many changes in the last year, there's one thing that has not changed, and that is the fact that we all need to help our students connect to opportunities after high school. We had a graduating class of 2020. We are about to have a graduating class of 2021, and 22, 23, and 24 are in the high school halls and will be shortly coming behind. So despite the challenges that 2020 and 2021 has actually hoisted upon our shoulders, and it has been a heavy lift for most of us, we have been so inspired how our partners have come together, organized, and met the challenges head on. It's been an absolute pleasure to be associated with many of you on this screen during this time. The time itself I could do without, but it's been a pleasure working alongside of you. But tonight we're here for a different reason. Tonight you're going to hear all about the creative ways we've moved this particular work forward and continued our progress in this region. We have been so very impressed with how our partner districts have leveraged the challenges of COVID-19 and have really risen to the challenge of innovating in these trying times. Be assured this work continues with a focus on equity. Equity is what girds us all together, and it's what girds everything we do. We would normally call out all of our partner districts and have you each stand and we'd applause, but since we can't do that most effectively here in Zoomdom, we'll have to instead simply emphasize a giant thank you. And if you feel like it, you can just give a little shout out to everyone when you need to. You've got some reactions at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Feel free to use those as well. And if you haven't yet introduced yourself in the chat box, please do that. We would love for you to make certain that your organization or your company name or district that you're working or associated with is next to your name. So please do that. We also know there's a lot going on right now. These are busy times. Our days are very long and they're full of Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. So the fact that you're choosing to spend your hour-long evening event with us, we're very grateful. As the names are starting to pop up in our chat box, please just remember that Montgomery County ESC just wants to thank you all for making this time this evening, but also most importantly, for doing what you do each and every day on behalf of the kids of Montgomery County and Warren County. If there's one thing you can take away from tonight, it's that even in the midst of a global health pandemic, we're moving our work forward. And as a region, we will continue to work together to ensure that our future is bright. We're focused on navigating this historic uncertainty, but also advancing toward our region's goals of more working age adults receiving a 2-year, 4-year, or post-secondary degree or credential. That's the big goal. And I have to say, we're actually at a crossroads in education. We are here tonight to acknowledge that it is unacceptable that such few number of our community's workforce actually have a credential or degree, especially when so many of our employers, many of you here tonight, highlight that the credentials in your field are important. This reality is exactly why our region has partnered with groups like the Dayton Region Manufacturers Association, the Greater Dayton Area Hospital Association, Technology First, and so many more. Together, we are all helping to bridge more opportunities together for our students in the K-12 sector so they can make their next step in their journey. Together, we can actually work to repair and recover the impacts COVID-19 has placed on our local education system, but on many of you in your organizations as well. I'm now going to hand it over to Brian Stewart, our ESC Workforce Director, to continue our welcome and also cue up a short highlight video featuring districts from around the region. Brian?
Hey everybody, can you hear me? I'm seeing some nods, that's good. Well, I'm gonna quickly go over tonight's agenda. Just gonna be totally honest, I lobbied very hard to try to keep this an hour. I know we used to go to the Dayton Marriott and it'd be dinner and we'd have a speaker, but I know you all are crazy busy right now. So we have packed in as much as we can into 1 hour, and we're going to be trying to be as respectful of your time as possible. So we're going to show you a highlight video. We're going to do a big picture update. We're going to run through the different working groups of the Business Advisory Council, share some highlights. We've invited some great partners to give quick little updates on some of the cool things we've done over the last year, and just give you some calls to action and get you out of here. So thank you so much for joining us. And without further ado, actually, I don't want to skip this. You all should have received an email within the last 24 hours of our joint statement of work. That's why you're all here. We're getting ready to submit that to the state. So keep an eye on that as we go through the different working groups. We're going to try to go quick, but if you have any questions, hit us up after tonight's event. We'd be more than happy to walk you through anything. And without further ado, I am going to queue up our highlight video. So if I can do this right, which there's always some Zoom hijinks, I'm going to share sound. I'm going to full screen, and then give me some nods if you can hear this. Awesome.
It's been a great year. Even though we have a pandemic, my kids are working, my kids are getting credentials, my kids are involved in the city, the Chamber of Commerce, going to meetings, meeting businesses. We're either meeting them in person or in Zoom. We've had lots of business tours. We've done the manufacturing. Two of my students did the manufacturing week, and now they're working in a construction site. So we are still busy.
There's a certain course at Northmont in the middle school called Explorations. And what's unique about that course is that every 8th grade, well, technically every 7th grade and every 8th grade student have this course. So that's what makes this course so neat, is that they are forced to think about their direction in 8th grade. So I think just to sum it up, every 8th grader gets the same foundational piece before we launch them into 9th grade. So they should have some focus of where they're going come graduation.
It was about a year ago at this time, I had the opportunity to speak in front of some of my peers, and really not even speak. It was showcase our students. And these were kids that were currently working on the floor at Duramax diesel engine while they were in high school. They were making a sustainable wage, and they were finishing up their high school career. And watching those kids transition from that into a full-time career at DMAX, and then several of them have transitioned into a post-secondary, some post-secondary education opportunities through DMAX. That is the thing that I'm most proud about and most excited about, because that's the pipeline that we want to see.
So I have to admit, I was able to participate in a career connections opportunity that several different counselors helped put on, and it was arguably one of the most powerful experiences I've had this school year, where there was multiple Dayton Public School students getting to talk to apprenticeship coordinators about what is an apprenticeship and what does it mean to work in the skilled trades. And you could just really see on the students' faces, like, oh wow, this is a real opportunity for me. And I'm just curious, why do you think those types of experiences are so important for students to participate in?
Allows the students to be exposed to things that they might not otherwise be exposed to. And honestly, think about it, a lot of them don't know what a biotechnologist is. They hear the names, but they really don't know what that means. So it gives them a chance to see that as well.
Something new or novel that you've done to provide new career exploration opportunities to your students? And immediately the first thing that comes to my mind is you actually had students Zoom into conversations with some of the skilled trade apprenticeship coordinators.
That was great because it gave the students the opportunity to ask real life questions. We've actually had some follow-up meetings with some students and some, apprentice leaders out there. So that's been good, just to kind of make those connections and get people continuing to ask questions. That really led to some good follow-up conversations within the classroom. That led to me doing some more individualized exploring with some of the students, but a lot of it was based off of, the opportunity they had to be in a live feed and discussion opportunity with people in the apprenticeship board.
Some of the restrictions that have been, we've tried to step back, and really we have, myself along with the amazing teacher who is teaching our employability skills class, her name is Lori Moses, have been working very closely to delve deeper into the actual course to make it a true blended learning course and not just self-paced modules. And so that has been an area, and because of the delving deeper into the course, it has expanded some of the conversations and the skill building for students.
One thing we're currently working on is we're building a 24-inch by 24-inch box to mimic a wall with a 12-inch stud in the middle, and we're wiring a light and electrical outlet and a switch to that, and then a plug on the end to have them plug it in and to see if it works. A lot of these kids have never had that experience, and the collaboration between the Career Center and the Montgomery County ESC is really paying off for these kids.
All right, everybody, can you hear me? Good stuff. Shannon, I think we have some extra introductions to give.
So we just want to welcome, if you're just joining, please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. But I do want to give a particular shout out. We've got some elected officials. Commissioner Rice, thank you so much for joining us today. We also have a special guest from the Ohio Department of Education, Michelle Washington. Thanks for joining us. All of our superintendents, all of our business partners. If we could just give everybody a really great round of applause for joining us tonight. So thanks for being here. Brian?
Absolutely. I also want to thank everyone for participating tonight. This work doesn't happen in a vacuum. This is all about support. Tonight, we ask that you take in this update and think about how we can continue to strengthen the connections in our community. No school district, city, or industry is alone in this crisis. We're all in this together. And through vehicles like the Business Advisory Council, I know we can make a difference. So we understand that one of the biggest challenges this school year is learning loss and the lack of hands-on activities. Last year, we held a series of incredibly informative parent and student listening sessions. And I don't know if you all remember, but they overwhelmingly highlighted the need for hands-on activities. So please know that while you're going to see a large range of virtual events, we are constantly considering and thinking about how we can offer in-person events as soon as we're able to again. So that video you just saw, we reached out to our back career champions and asked if they'd like to participate. If you didn't see your district, don't worry, we'd love to set a time aside to highlight your district in one of our district spotlight videos. So I just showed that video, and just as a reminder, because we now have about 100 folks in this Zoom, if you're like Northmont and you're building opportunities for every single middle schooler to be exposed to career opportunities, tonight we're celebrating you. If you're like Lebanon and you have students currently working at a site even during a pandemic, tonight is about celebrating you. There is just so many great things going on, from Northridge having students continuing their experience that they presented to us last year, to Miamisburg having all of their having their students participate in all of our Career Connections Weeks of Action. There's just so much to highlight. That video could have been an hour in itself. So we just really appreciate everyone who took part in that video and is just doing great work. So thank you, everyone. And I'm going to go ahead and try to, as succinctly as possible, sync up the last year of work from when we were sitting in this room till today. So this might be like warp speed, but I promise we're trying to get you out of here in an hour. So if you remember this time last year, there was no pandemic. We were all sitting tightly packed in the Dayton Marriott, and Ty was talking to us about the great projects that his students were working on. Fast forward the next month in April, we came together as a region for the 2020 Pathways to Prosperity Network Spring Institute. And quite candidly, we had our leaders come and talk about how are we going to handle the Business Advisory Council's work in the midst of a global health pandemic. We continued that work into May when, I don't know if you all remember this, but there was over 30 million unemployment claims filed in just at the month of May. So it kind of puts things back into perspective of what we were facing when we sought out after this work. But we still managed to convene over 50 IT and computer science, cybersecurity, industry, higher ed, and K-12 leaders in May to continue our momentum in improving our tech worker pipeline. We also looked to the state. We wanted to know what everybody else was doing, and the state put on some really great virtual experiences that we watched and then worked to emulate and put on in the Greater Dayton area. And the first iteration of that, which you're going to hear a little bit about from Diane Farrell, the Dayton Metro Library, was Career Adventures Camp. So we kind of got our footing, and in June we started doing some really cool virtual events. And then in July we started thinking about what kind of software is out there to help us do virtual stuff, not just in a pandemic, but long term. How can we take the creative technologies that are being created and implement them post a pandemic? And one of those things that you'll hear briefly about is NEPRIS. In August, I know we talked about this at the last back meeting, but it's quite a feat. In August, we had our pilot CareSource IT teacher externship, where we had 2 different teachers do a paid teacher externship at CareSource to shadow their IT departments and learn all about what does it mean to work in IT right now, especially in a pandemic. And that went off without a hitch. And we also took about 40 of our counselors from around our region to United Grinding, where we had them do a virtual panel with some of their local leaders, their HR leaders, to talk about what sorts of feedback they'd like to give to our local K-12 partners. In September, we convened our main Business Advisory Council meeting, and we asked our districts to designate their level of involvement. So we had districts say they were in the engaged column, the mobilized column, or the invested column, and that work continues. And then on October, we convened again with the Pathways to Prosperity Fall Institute. And yes, this is a staged photo, which we will do at the end of this meeting. So everyone get ready. In like 25 minutes, we're going to ask you to turn your cameras on. We're going to do another Zoomception video picture. So you'll all be subjected to that, fair warning. In November, we took about 50 of our counselors and career champions and superintendents and administrators on a virtual tour of the arcade. And this was powerful, not just because we went and saw a really cool space that's getting ready to open, but they got to talk to the actual skilled trades and construction workers rebuilding the arcade and the people that are going to be working there in a tech, in the new tech economy. So very, very exciting career champions meeting we had back in November. We also teamed up with the Greater Dayton Hospital Association to feature a week of events around Health Professions Week. And this is a still from one of our panels from Dayton Children's. And then we thought, why do we only tell people the good stuff we're doing once a year? So we instituted a quarterly newsletter. So in November, we put out our first quarterly newsletter. The winter newsletter is on its way. It should be in the next handful of weeks. This kind of took precedent though. And we also started to convene Technology First and Gadaha into individual education subcommittees to really move the needle in their respective industry and how they engage our K-12 systems. And then in December, we got to hear from students like Millie to talk about what does it mean to be a young woman interested into going into careers around computer science. We did a full week of training for our local teachers and counselors about how they can more effectively expose students to careers in tech. Just an awesome collaboration with some national partners, one of which you'll hear later in today's meeting. In January, we were full throttle with the Gadaha Education Subcommittee, and we were pushing forward that monthly committee that we come together and we share out opportunities like Wright State's Health Professions Day and some of the things that are coming up over the next few weeks. Just great work, and we'll hear a little bit about that later in today's meeting. And in February, we convened our career champions again, and they did a virtual tour of Dayton Children's and even got to do a panel with some of Dayton Children's employees. Awesome work, a lot over the last year. But that leads us to where we're at right now. And where we're at right now is it's real. Let's just be honest. We all know it's real. 2021 is not exactly completely different from 2020. The January jobs report that is released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, highlighted that our economy only created 49,000 jobs last month. And that picture was worse than anyone expected. And it's even grimmer when you look at some of the longer trends. There's a lot of work to be done. I have in my notes to tell you all these grim statistics and like insane things to like look back at like the recession from 2008 to now. You all are smart people. I'll share the New York Times article and the chat, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist or an economist to kind of look at some of these graphs to really understand that our employers are still suffering and our communities are still suffering, and we have a lot of unemployed people in our community right now. So, but I want to get to some visualizations here, because when you look at that jobs report, it talks about how 49,000 jobs nationally were created in the month of January, which is lower than expected. But when you look at the Dayton area and some of the openings that we have, these aren't jobs created, but these are jobs that we just have currently open right now. You'll see that a lot of these job openings between November 14th and December 13th, we're working to get kids into them. When you look at registered nurses and IT information security analysts, this is exactly the type of work we're currently working on. So that is reassuring to say, I guess. And then the number that I want you all to think about for the rest of tonight is that, Tammy Strittenberger from the ESC, she went around to all of our districts and we wanted to get a raw number of how many seniors we anticipate will graduate this spring. And that number of all the districts included in our Business Advisory Council is 7,000. So if you need a visual, that's about half of the University of Dayton's basketball arena. So that's about 7,000 opportunities we have between now, February 24th, and graduation this spring to connect them to their next step, because they're stepping into something that, is real. So today's presentation is about all the great things that we've worked on over the last year and the great things that we've worked on this spring. But we don't want you to, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here. I'm trying to remind you that we have a lot of students, and Shannon alluded to this in her opening, but we have a lot of students that we still have to provide opportunities to. So our Business Advisory Council consists of 5 working groups. Many of you serve on one of them. If you don't, we'd love for you to join in on the fun. We have plenty of meetings in the next month or two for anyone who's interested to get involved. So please bear with me while we give you some of our accomplishments. These are by no means all of the accomplishments. They by no means reflect everything all of our districts have done. These are just some things that we wanted to highlight at a regional level. So our first working group, which is led by Austin Halsey and Tammy Strittenberger, is the Student Engagement Working Group. And if you're looking at your report that I emailed, maybe you printed off, maybe you've got it on your computer screen right now, we did a lot. But one of the things that I want to highlight is those Career Connections Weeks of Action, where we said, instead of one district doing this and one district doing this and kind of industries being pulled in different directions, we said, let's set a calendar and work on it for the next 4 months. And 80% of our back member districts participated. And one of the things that we found since last February to now is that districts are struggling with putting on these types of events. And our solution on the Business Advisory Council was, we'll host them, we'll help facilitate them. If you can get your students on, that's great. And that's exactly what we did. And some data for everyone to think about from a regional perspective of how we move this work forward. We just surveyed all of our Business Advisory Council districts, and 55% So more than half of our schools in our Business Advisory Council have a mandatory career exploration class. And when you look at all of the electives that students can take, these aren't mandatory, but they can take them if they'd like. 90% of our school districts have a career exploration class. So the types of virtual career fairs and experiences that we've been building, that is a really nice place to expose students in those career exploration classes. And I think it's time that we as a region think about how we can even better leverage them within those career exploration classes. In another space that we could make huge gains if we wanted to really focus in on this is that more than 3/4 of our school districts have advisory periods. And I know everything gets shoved into this period, and sometimes it's only 15 minutes depending on your district. But this is another way to highlight to students some of the great virtual events that we've been putting on. So I don't know if you remember this from our last Business Advisory Council meeting, but I just wanted to give you, these are actual feedback from students that participated in some of our virtual weeks of action. And we asked them what their biggest takeaways were. And I'm not going to read what's on the screen, you all can do that. But we got great feedback from the students that actually participated. So we hope to continue that momentum for In-Demand Jobs Week this spring. We also partnered with groups like Technology First and put on all sorts of panels, like our Smart Data panel. And we're continuing to innovate. So this is an event that we have coming up in May. Mad River and a handful of other partners are in this pilot. We're trying to put on a STEM-based virtual career fair with virtual booths and optional live sessions. So I'll be excited to report out on how that event goes at our next Business Advisory Council meeting. But we're still tinkering, we're still innovating. And we hosted, as a region, a lot of career exploration experiences. And with that, I have to give you one of our problems. It's all not roses. It's not all perfect. One of the things that our region is focused in on and thinking about is how do we track all this stuff? There's so many moving parts. There's so many districts. There's so many companies. There's so many volunteers. So the problem of how do we track participation? Not just to report to the state. Yeah, we want to brag about all the cool stuff we're doing, but so we can look at, are we making progress year after year? So one tool that we're looking at is NEPRIS, and I will talk about this all the time. So you can have an individual meeting with me. I love NEPRIS. I love talking to classes all across the country. But we've been applying for grants and we're looking for funding so that we can have a central portal so that this time next year we can have hundreds of local Dayton companies in NEPRIS, and each individual district and each individual teacher and each individual district can track how many career exploration experiences are going on within their district. So that's something we're working towards. Hopefully in the next few weeks, we might get a grant that might fund this. If not, we're going to be tenacious and go find that money. But this is one problem that we're facing right now, which is how do we track and build on the momentum we currently have? Our next thing is no longer listening to me. You get a reprieve for a few minutes. I'm going to invite John from cyber.org to highlight one of the coolest things that I think we did since we last met in February, which was partner with cyber.org. And John, if you're there, I'm going to throw you the mic and you can teach our Business Advisory Council about what a Capture the Flag tournament is and what we did in December.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. We at cyber.org, we collaborate with academic and government, corporate, and nonprofit partners in order to multiply our impact across all 50 states. We provide curriculum and cybersecurity resources at no cost to K-12 educators within the United States and territories. And we support student and community events by providing resources for out of the classroom experiences that shape students' perceptions of cyber career pathways. One of the ways that we've done that is by partnering with the Dayton Regional STEM Center. Liz and her team there have just been wonderful to work with. It's always a pleasure to see them and visit with them. And we hosted a Capture the Flag event. If you'll skip to the next slide. A Capture the Flag, or a CTF. We conducted this back in December for a few days, and it's a virtual competition. Students log on and answer a series of questions, and we carried this out over 3 or 4 days during their computer science week as an additional out of the box experience. And students would log on and we would release questions every day, new questions that were designed for them and their age group. We had 2 competitions going on simultaneously, both an elementary and middle competition and a high school competition. And we've kind of used Dayton as a bit of a testing ground for some of our new developments in this field. And I've got to say, Dayton, Ohio, actually across the state has been really phenomenal in the feedback that we've been getting. Students have found the competitions to be engaging and fun and challenging, but in an exciting way, in a good way. There is just the right amount of challenge for both elementary, middle, and high school levels. All of these competitions are free of charge, and students, since they're virtual, can operate these at home or at school if they've got time, anywhere that they can get internet access. And if you will go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Here are some of the results that we found just from those 4 days. In total, across Ohio, we had 303 participants. Shockingly to us, and atypical for this on a national scale, when we do these annually for different groups across the country, 243 of those students were elementary and middle school students, and the other 60 made up high school students. That elementary and middle was extremely encouraging for us as a group that encourages, a cyber career connection and cybersecurity awareness, and are doing this virtually. To have that engagement in a program that is not in the classroom, that these kids are doing at home or in extracurricular time, was just phenomenal. Included in here, I've given a chart, kind of the breakdown of the area. One of the questions that the students could enter when they were registering is their general location, where they were. Out of the 303, 249 of those participants told us where they were from. Though there were no personal identifying information given, we just kind of get an idea of where they were, with Dayton being by far the largest area represented, followed by Fairborn, Columbus, and Beaver Creek, and then so forth. There were actually a couple of others outside of Ohio that joined. Those are at the bottom of the chart there, but overall, extremely exciting to see this kind of response from the Dayton area, an area that is new to us as an organization, and an area that we look forward to forming more partnerships with and increasing our impact and our outreach there. So, thank you, Brian.
So, John, I just have to say that oftentimes a lot of the people in this meeting are like the macro level. They're the people that think about like regional strategies and statewide strategies. And this was such a great example of the tactical, immediate, something cool we can do during Computer Science Week. So I'd like to thank you for helping facilitate that for our region, and just say that we know that you could have partnered with any region anywhere in the country. Everybody's, hankering for cybersecurity like activities. And we just are appreciative that you focused in on our region. And we hope that you continue to, because when our Computer Science Teachers Network would sign on in January and say, my students are so excited about doing another Capture the Flag tournament, that's exactly what we want to see. So, John, thank you for joining us tonight. I know you could be doing a million other things right now, so thank you for joining us, and thank you for investing your time and resources in our region.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this, and a part of this whole collaboration of businesses. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, John. You're more than welcome to stay, but if not, we'll be recording it and you can cherry pick later. So thanks again, John. So another reprieve for me talking at you for an hour is our next guest, which is Diane Farrell from the Dayton Metro Library. And you might remember that we do a pretty innovative, cool event called Courage Ventures Camp, obviously in the middle of a pandemic. That looks a little bit different. But today, Diane is going to talk about the awesome stuff the Dayton Metro Library has partnered with the Business Advisory Council on over the last year, especially around student engagement.
Brian, thank you so much. I'm really honored to be with all of you tonight. And Mostly thankful for all that you do, especially the way you have been able to stay focused on the intellectual, emotional health of the children in our region. So I'll say thank you again, even though I think tonight that's going to be the #1 spoken phrase that we all have coming out of this, but I really do appreciate your work on that. Brian, you can go forward. Last year when the pandemic first hit, I remember talking to a few of you on Zoom, which I had never done before. And I have to tell you that not only did I feel helpless, I think that the library was just looking for ways to stay engaged and to make sure that you all knew that we were here for you. So one of the first things that we did was try to develop resources that were all digital, all online, all free access to serve as homework help and just any type of way to keep your kids connected while they were working from home. And many of you were so kind to allow us to come to your meal sites and distribute customized brochures that we created for all of the school districts in this service area to make sure that your kids knew that Dayton Metro Library was here for you. And you can move forward. Brian, thank you. The other thing that we were able to launch pretty quickly was live online tutoring every day from 2 o'clock until 11 o'clock. This was no cost tutoring for folks with a library card. I can tell you that the assistance that we were able to provide, especially for parents in math and science, was just absolutely a welcome reprieve. I can tell you that my children's math prowess surpassed mine by the time they were in 4th grade. So what I wouldn't have given for a resource like this when my kids were in middle and high school. I am also happy to tell you, because I'm looking at Cassie Barlow right now on my screen, hi Cassie, that we have been able to expand this Help Now, which is designed for students in K through 12, to now a job help portal designed for adults, where we do online resume help, live interview preparation, and other skills-based training every day, as well as Vet Now every day from 2 to 11 p.m., helping veterans with that very sensitive and significant transition from their career in the military services out into the public world. So if you're not taking advantage of these services, I hope you'll start sharing them with your parents and your community and associates. Brian, you can move to the next slide. As Brian mentioned, many of you know how excited we were this time last year when we were singing the praises of how we had been able to ramp up and scale our very successful Career Adventures Camp that took place for 2 years, 2 summers, a 5-day camp where we explored all the different sectors of in-demand careers. And we served about 30 kids a year with that very immersive experience. But in the fall of 2019, we scaled that from a 5-day, 30-kid event to a 2-day, 950 youth participant event down at the Dayton Metro Library. And I see many of you on the screen right now who not only helped make all that possible, but who also corralled your kids and brought them down to the main library for what we heard was possibly one of the greatest field trips that students had ever been able to participate in. So you can imagine my disappointment when we were unable to continue those things last year. But also many of you got on a call with me early in the spring last year and said, let's do something. As a matter of fact, Brian, I think you, as far as you could stretch it, commanded us to do something. And I also remember, I remember Angela Erball and I both saying, we have no idea how this is going to happen, but let's just go for it. And I'm very happy to tell you that we were able to host a virtual career camp, one of the first ones coming out of the gate last year. And thousands of children were able to participate in this. It was a 5-day event. Each day we featured different in-demand sectors. And I have to tell you, of all the outcomes that came from being able to adapt our Career Adventures Camp and Career Adventures Day model to a virtual format, It was probably the pride that we felt in empowering all of you to be able to take what we learned, the good and the bad and the ugly, in creating virtual programming and be able to launch into your own programs. And so much so that even our spokesperson, who was featured on the left side of the screen here, Tia Clybourne, was borrowed and used for other virtual career camps that have been used ever since then. The neat thing about this is this program still exists on the library's website. So for all of you educators that are out there right now, it's just DaytonMetroLibrary.org, Career Adventures. And anytime you can have your kids click on and watch this. And there are great links to other resources that the library offers for free, as well as community resources. Brian, you can skip forward. One of the other things that we heard from many of you once school started back up in the fall is that our kids just need an outlet to be themselves, to be creative, and that isn't academic. We don't need to keep throwing virtual academic content at these kids. They are just zoomed out. And so we shifted quickly to be able to engage 3 highly respected teaching artists in the Dayton area. And we held 4 weeks of virtual arts club. Tuesday was dance with Jashona Peppers. Wednesday was the creative process with Sierra Leone, and Thursday was drawing with Dwayne Daniels. And these programs, again, live on the library's website. And so I hope you'll continue to send your kids there. In addition, we provide journals and kits and packets with all the supplies that the kids need to do these classes, including drawing paper, chalk, and specialty pencils so that they can fully engage in this. Brian, you can head to the next one. And lastly, before I leave you tonight, we were able to secure a grant through the Institute of Museum and Library Services. This was done in direct response to us hearing that even though all of you have made extraordinary efforts at getting your kids mobile hotspots and getting them the Chromebooks and the equipment that they need in their homes, there's still a large number of families that needed high-speed internet to help them not just complete their schoolwork, but stay connected. So we were able to secure funding through the IMLS that was going to allow us to provide at least 4 free months of high-speed Wi-Fi directly into homes. I'm happy to tell you, yes, thank you, Shannon, you're exactly right. And this came from federal funding too, which is just great. But I'm happy to tell you that effective at the end of this week, everyone who is part of this program is going to automatically get extended to July 31st. We've been able to balance our budget and really pinch the numbers internally. So we're going to be able to take what we thought was an original 4 months of free internet and extend that for many families up to 7 months. So again, I just want to say thank you. You all know that the library is here to be a partner for you. We're here to respond to what you need. And I think you all know that you have my personal commitment to do whatever we can to help your students succeed in school and in life.
Thank you so much, Diane. So if you have any questions for Diane, send them in the chat. I have 17 minutes to get through like 30 or 40 minutes of stuff. So we're going to go super fast to all my C-suite leaders. I know you guys are good at taking in, guys and gals are good at taking in information quickly. I'm going to try to talk slow enough to understand, but fast enough to actually be respectful of your time. So Parent and Community Engagement Working Group, we partnered with Think TV. We are doing something. This is an action item for you all to consider, think about your role in the next month. It's called our 2021 March Middle School Push. Every Monday for the next 5 Mondays, we have a Think TV video. I know Gloria is on this in this meeting, but these are incredible 5-minute career exploration videos of local kids and local institutions going into our in-demand career fields. So every district, this is our challenge. Every district in the Business Advisory Council showing these 5-minute videos 1 time a week for 5 minutes to all of your middle schoolers so we can start exposing them to some of our in-demand career fields. I promise you, watch one of these videos and you'll be like, I can do that. These are really high quality. All right, so industry engagement. We have teamed up with some great partners to create a one-stop portal. So you can go to Sochi Engage. You can go to the ESC's website. You can go to the Dayton Chambers, DaytonWorkforce.com. Any employer in the Greater Dayton area that wants to get involved in schools can go to any of our websites and they'll go into the same contact form. And that will be funneled to Sochi, the Chamber, and the ESC, and we will get those employers involved with your schools. This portal is done. We're ready to rock. We're ready to get employers involved with your districts. So that is that works now. That's active as of like yesterday. The other industry engagement thing that I want to do, and Deb, I'm gonna ask you to be as succinct as possible, but I want to make sure your voice is heard because you deserve so much credit. We're gonna call in Ron Mays from Gadaha and Deb from the the Dayton Children's Hospital to talk about the incredible Gadaha Education Subcommittee. Deb, I'm tagging you in.
Thanks, Brian, and you are appreciated. I just want to tell you, I've been a nurse for a very, very long time, and my passion has always been around healthcare careers. I saw very early that even in myself, healthcare careers, that some kids were a little afraid to go into healthcare careers, and there were barriers that caused kids maybe not to consider a healthcare career when they might have been a good choice. So my whole career, I have kind of had that passion. About 20 years ago, I started a healthcare career camp for children ages 8 through 12 that we run specifically for our employees. We call it a Scrubs Camp. Very, very successful program at Dayton Children's and quite an employee satisfier. And through that connection that I had, I actually expanded it to be an advanced camp about 4 years ago, including kids 13 through 18, with the goal of doing exactly what your healthcare advisory panels or your industry advisory panels do. And that was to connect kids, engage them, and to let them explore careers. So this was right up my alley, and I was fortunate enough to get connected with Brian. I don't know, maybe about a year or so ago. And that has kind of run us up through pulling together what we're which is new for me anyway, but the Healthcare Advisory Business Group. And we're so very excited about that. I think that what I want to say is that we're new and we're just getting started in this, but as much as I love this, and I'm telling you, it's my passion, this is quite a need in the healthcare industry. So this type of connection and collaboration with the schools and with, our higher education colleges, it is exactly what we need. We need this collaboration. We love supporting the schools. Sometimes when we get it in onesies, twosies, it's difficult for us. However, with this collaboration where we can do large things at one time, it is just a win-win for everybody. So I'm very, very excited. And I hope I hit everything that I wanted to say to you. But Brian, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you, Deb. And Ron, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but we're just so appreciative of all of the work that all of our partners. You see a lot of logos on your screen right now. This is just a handful of the ones active on the education subcommittee for Gadaha. They're leading the way, be it virtual opportunities for any district to participate in, to giving tours to our career champions. So thank you both, Deb and Ron, so much for your help. And Gadaha's just been an incredible partner over the last year in this space. So for our educator, we got 11 minutes, let's do this. For our educator engagement working group, we did something really novel, and I think it's worth noting, and it's important for you all to hear because it's our first and hopefully a series of upcoming endeavors, which is we took all of our region's computer science teachers, whether they taught IT classes, computer engineering, cybersecurity, and we meet monthly to expose them to resources, to put on trainings, to connect them to students, to nonprofits, and it has been a game changer. So one of the things that our industry engagement working group has done has really tried to go at an industry level and start to do even more in-depth things. So whether it's a student talking to counselors or to teachers, or a nonprofit coming in with a new curriculum about how to teach AI in schools. We're really excited about the weeks of professional development opportunities that we're now able to put on. Just a lot of great work happening on our industry engagement working group. And for our fifth working group that I'd like to highlight is that, we are looking at policy, and we're looking at ways that we can advocate for the changes we need to happen to make the things happen that, quite honestly, COVID has pressed us into some very difficult places. So our policy and advocacy working group has done a lot of great work. You can see my collage of things so I don't forget anything. We're working on connecting to statewide efforts like the Bridging Ohio's Workforce Gap. That is a great movement right now. We're also looking at what's going on in Congress, at the federal level, at the state level, and we're working with national partners like JFF to make sure that we are in line with creating policy that you all need to have to educate properly in our region. So we have another institute coming up this spring, and we'll be inviting many of you to be a part of that. We also, I talked about our quarterly newsletter. We can skip right past that. So there's no reason to hold a meeting with all of you stakeholders, all you superintendents, all you C-suite leaders without action items. How can you help, right? You all are so busy. So we thought it would be worthwhile to give 10 things you can do right now to help move the Business Advisory Council forward. Because you're probably imagining half of that stadium full right now, arena full right now, of 7,000 graduates this spring. What is your role? How can you help? So with that, we're asking, this isn't really that hard, that all of our school districts in the Business Advisory Council participate in our March Middle School push. Think TV just put together these incredible videos. Our goal is to make sure that students see them and that we foster conversations about them. And I think that the videos stand for themselves. If you watch them, you'll say, this is something we should put in front of our students. So one thing you can do as a stakeholder in today's meeting is go watch those videos and figure out how you can have them shown to all middle schoolers in the Business Advisory Council.
And because Northmont and Miamisburg do such a great job at this kind of thing, we know all of you can too.
Shannon and I blew past that earlier in the presentation. So I had a little logo for Northmont to specifically shout out something unique they did when they shared out resources like this in the past. And I think it's important. All of our school districts have a way to reach parents, whether it's One Call or Parent Square. Northmont did something really interesting where they pinged parents the week of Health Professions Week to say, hey, it's National Health Professions Week. We're putting on all these events. Talk to your student about maybe participating in one of them. And we got such great feedback from that push. We believe all of our districts in the Business Advisory Council can participate in our March Middle School push like that. The second thing to do is there are so many creative and innovative things happening at the individual district level. So what we started to do is a thing called District Spotlight. We do a 5 to 6 minute interview with one of the career champions at their respective district to shine a light on the creative, interesting new things that our various districts are doing. Go watch one of those. If you own a company and you're located in Miamisburg, go watch the Miamisburg District Spotlight. It's a wealth of information, and honestly, it's really inspiring to see what our districts are innovating. Third thing, super easy. Take a screenshot tonight. I'm sure I'll be like animated and crazy, but take a screenshot of tonight. Talk about it on social media. That our region, there we go. That our region is speaking with a coherent voice on getting kids connected to careers and being intentional about our strategy around workforce development. Our fourth thing that we're asking districts to do is In-Demand Jobs Week happens every year. It's going to happen this spring. We want to make sure that every district in the Business Advisory Council, regardless if you have 40 kids graduating or 1,000, we want to make sure that your district is participating in In-Demand Jobs Week. And we're not asking you to cook up a whole thing. We're going to put events on for you. We just ask that you try to participate at some level. So that's one thing that you can do, whether you're an industry partner, help participate in In-Demand Jobs Week, or if you're a district, think about how you might be able to expose students to in-demand jobs during that week. Our fifth thing, 4 times a year, we take career champions to different in-demand industries. We just took career champions on Friday on a virtual tour of Dayton Children's. Submit via email to me destinations you think we should take our career champions. Think of local companies, think of different partners, send them my way. It's a really easy ask. 6, we finally pulled off a pilot of paying teachers to go into an industry workplace and learn what they're teaching. So if they're an advanced manufacturing instructor, go do a paid externship with an advanced manufacturing company. You all have a network of relationships, and we're asking you to leverage those tonight and think about a company that you might know, the owner of, to partner with our region's Business Advisory Council to host some teachers this summer. We're going to get teachers into paid teacher externships this summer. We'd like it to be your teachers and with the companies based in your districts. Last couple things. Sign up yourself for Dayton Workforce or Sochi Engage or the ESC's portal. You all are from some in-demand industry, and if you're an educator, you're spared this task. But sign up in the portal and go and speak to classes virtually, serve on a virtual panel, have your employees participate. There's so many ways to get involved. Just check the boxes that you're comfortable with in this employer portal. 8, almost all of our districts are working on this. So you should have heard this before. We're trying to identify alumni from our in-demand industries locally that can come back to the district and talk about their career and give advice to students. So help us identify alumni to serve as possible job shadow partners this spring. If you're 14 years or older, you're going to be able to job shadow at Premier this year. We want to expand that opportunity to so many more industries and to so many more students. So think about some alumni that you might know that would be willing to go into the portal and say they'd be willing to job shadow this summer. 9, we are looking to add more paid high school internships to our region's opportunities. This might be all the same employer in your head. This might not be, though. We're looking for employers to do paid internships this summer. We've got a great system in place. Sochi is exquisite at this. We're looking for partners to do paid high school internships. And our last but not least, submit feedback to me and any questions you have from tonight's meeting. We went warp speed. I inevitably missed some stuff. I forgot to thank a lot of people, but it's 6:57 and I promised you an hour of your time. So if you can send me any questions or thoughts into my email, I'd really appreciate it. And Tammy, this is the part where you're supposed to remind me to take a giant picture screen grab. So if everyone can just be aware, I'm getting ready to take a screen grab. So everyone smile, look like you haven't been living in Zoom for the last 12 months. We're gonna all smile, turn your cameras on. And we're
Greg
gonna
Myers, we said smile. There we go.
All right, and I obviously can't include everybody, but you'll, all right.
Scroll.
3, 2, 1. All right, so there's one screen grab. Maybe? No? Did it just break on me? If I'm gonna have a tech problem tonight, I'd prefer it be on a picture. Okay, I think that worked. Great, we got it. All right, just so you know, our Business Advisory Council is pretty awesome. I don't know if we're gonna get an award. I'm gonna manifest this, but on March 2nd, there is an event where they're gonna highlight great business advisory councils. Maybe we'll be awarded. Maybe we'll be awarded next year. Who knows? Shannon,
And
you're probably more politically
Yeah.
correct on this.
So we did have to actually apply for this. This is not something they just randomly do. So this is the first year for it as well. We did put the application in on behalf of our Warren County and Montgomery County Joint Business Advisory Council. And Michelle Washington did put the link. So we're going to send this presentation out to you. But Michelle did put a link in the chat if you're interested to mark your calendars.
So thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll see you on May 4th at our next Business Advisory Council main meeting. Tried to cover as much as we could, and it's not Dayton Marriott, but we still appreciate your time tonight.
It is 6:59. I'm going to take 30 more seconds. I want to thank Brian Stewart. Brian has done an amazing job. He has mentored me. He's coached me up. He's worked with most of you. And so I just want to say, Brian, thank you so much for all that you do on behalf of the 23 different school districts in Warren County and Montgomery County. But most of all, I also want to thank all of you again. Commissioner Lieberman, Commissioner Shaw, I'm sorry I missed you. Lots of people, lots of boxes on my Brady Bunch screen, but thank you for coming. Also, boots on the ground, all of our school boards who are elected officials, thank you for spending the time, not just tonight, but every day doing what you do, again, in our 23 school districts. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone on the screen. We really appreciate it. We will get all the information sent out to you so that you have it. It is 7 o'clock. Everybody wave out.
We couldn't have done it without everybody. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you in May.